Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this explosive edition of entertainment news where the world of glamour and grit collides in the most unexpected way. Imagine the bright lights of a bustling morning TV studio in London, the air buzzing with the chatter of crew members and the faint scent of fresh coffee mingling with hairspray. It's a crisp October morning in 2025, and the set of ITV's beloved Lorraine Kelly show is alive with anticipation. The iconic host, Lorraine Kelly, with her trademark warm smile and infectious energy, is preparing to welcome one of Hollywood's most revered treasures, Dame Helen Mirren. At 80 years young, Helen Mirren strides into the spotlight not as the queen she is, but as a force of nature, her elegant poise masking the fire that has fueled her legendary career from Shakespearean stages to blockbuster screens. Today, she's here to promote her latest cinematic venture, a riveting biopic titled Iron Will, where she embodies the unyielding spirit of Margaret Thatcher in her twilight years, a role that's already stirring Oscar whispers and heated debates across the pond. The audience, a mix of loyal fans clutching mugs of tea and wide-eyed newcomers, settles into their seats, unaware that this routine chat is about to erupt into a viral sensation that will dominate headlines for weeks. Lorraine, ever the consummate professional with over 3 decades under her belt, kicks off the segment with her signature enthusiasm, gushing about Helen's timeless beauty and the sheer audacity of tackling such a polarizing figure. "Helen, darling, you look absolutely radiant. If Thatcher herself would be jealous of that glow," Lorraine exclaims, her Scottish lilt cutting through the studio like a Highland breeze. Helen chuckles modestly, her blue eyes sparkling under the lights, as she adjusts her tailored blouse, a subtle nod to the Iron Lady's iconic style. The conversation flows seamlessly at first, delving into the intricacies of method acting, the challenges of aging gracefully in an industry obsessed with youth, and the poignant parallels between Thatcher's unapologetic feminism and Mirren's own trailblazing path. Viewers at home, sipping their morning brews, are hooked, tweeting in real time about how this duo is the perfect blend of British wit and wisdom. But beneath the surface politeness, there's a subtle undercurrent, a spark waiting to ignite. As the minutes tick by, Lorraine's questions grow bolder, probing into the more controversial aspects of Thatcher's legacy, the miners' strikes, the Falklands War, the unyielding policies that divided a nation. Helen, ever the diplomat, navigates these waters with grace, sharing anecdotes from the set where she spent hours in makeup to capture the weight of those historic decisions. Playing someone so divisive is like walking a tightrope over a pit of vipers, Helen quips, her voice steady but laced with the gravitas of experience. The studio audience laughs appreciatively, but Lorraine, sensing the drama that ratings adore, leans in closer, her eyes gleaming with mischief. Little do they know, this is the calm before the storm, a storm that will see one of cinema's queens rise in righteous fury and storm off the set, leaving jaws on the floor and social media ablaze. As the camera pans across the thrilled crowd, the segment presses on, building tension like a thriller's opening act. Helen recounts a particularly grueling scene recreating Thatcher's defiant speech in the House of Commons, her hands gesturing animatedly, mimicking the Prime Minister's iron-fisted resolve. Lorraine nods vigorously, interjecting with personal reflections on growing up in Scotland during Thatcher's era, her tone shifting from admiration to something sharper, more pointed. "Oh, Helen, but wasn't she just a bit of a tyrant? I mean, us Scots still hold grudges, you know," she says with a playful wink, intending it as light-hearted banter. The audience titters, but Helen's smile falters ever so slightly, a crack in the facade that only the keenest observer might catch. Undeterred, Lorraine barrels forward, her energy unyielding, drawing parallels between Thatcher's policies and modern-day political firestorms, from Brexit to gender debates in Westminster. Helen listens intently, her fingers drumming lightly on the armrest, a habit from her theater days when she'd signal unease to fellow actors. The conversation dances on the edge, touching on feminism's double-edged sword, how Thatcher's rise empowered women yet her cuts ravaged communities. Helen shares a vulnerable moment, admitting how researching the role forced her to confront her own privileges as a white, affluent actress in a cutthroat business. "It's humbling, really, to step into shoes that both inspired and injured so many," she muses, her voice softening with authenticity. The studio lights seemed to dim just a fraction, casting long shadows that foreshadowed the impending clash. Outside, London awakens to another grey autumn day, commuters rushing past oblivious to the drama unfolding on their screens. Back inside, Lorraine's laughter rings out as she pivots to lighter fare, complimenting Helen's recent L'(A) copyright out campaign and her unapologetic embrace of silver hair as a badge of honor. "You're redefining aging. Love ya, take that, all those Botox brigade." But as the compliments flow, so does the undercurrent of comparison, with Lorraine subtly positioning herself as the relatable Evrimum against Helen's regal detachment. The guest, sensing the shift, straightens her posture, her expression a masterful blend of amusement and restraint. This is Dame Helen Mirren, after all, and not just an actress, but a survivor of scandals, from tabloid frenzies over her relationships to the raw vulnerability of roles that bared her soul. The segment clocks in at its midpoint, commercial break looming, but the real show is just beginning. As applause ripples through for a clip from Iron Will, Helen's eyes meet Lorraine's across the desk, a silent exchange loaded with unspoken histories. Viewers, glued to their devices, start sensing the vibe, firing off emojis of raised eyebrows and popcorn munchers. In the control room, producers exchange glances, thrilled at the organic tension brewing. Helen, drawing from decades of poise, steers back to safer shores, praising the young director who dared to humanize Thatcher beyond the headlines. "She's a genius. That Onya reminds me of when I first met Zeffirelli on the set of Antony and Cleopatra, pure magic mixed with mayhem." Lorraine absorbs this, her nod enthusiastic, but her next question lands like a grenade. "Speaking of mayhem, Helen, how do you feel about critics calling this film whitewashing history? After all, Thatcher's not exactly everyone's cup, especially not with her stance on, well, you know, the gays and all that." The room stills. Helen's jaw tightens imperceptibly, a flicker of the storm to come. This isn't just chit-chat, it's a minefield, and the host has just tossed in the dynamite. As the audience holds its breath, the narrative hurtles toward confrontation, promising a spectacle that will echo through celebrity lore. The date is October 24, 2025, and television history is about to be rewritten in a blaze of unfiltered truth. The studio clock ticks mercilessly forward, each second amplifying the electric charge in the air, thick as London fog rolling off the Thames. Lorraine Kelly, perched on her colorful swivel chair like a bird of paradise in a cage of convention, tilts her head with the disarming curiosity that's made her a breakfast staple for millions. Her question hangs there, bold and unapologetic. "Helen, be honest now, do you think Thatcher's legacy is more villain or victor when it comes to women's rights? I mean, she smashed the glass ceiling but left shards everywhere." The audience erupts in a mix of cheers and murmurs, the Scots among them particularly vocal, their cheers laced with the salt of old wounds from poll tax riots and factory closures. Helen Mirren, the epitome of composed elegance in her navy silk ensemble, pauses a beat longer than polite, her manicured fingers interlacing as if to anchor herself. Her mind races back to the research marathons for the role, dusty archives in Westminster, interviews with Thatcher's surviving aides, the endless nights poring over diaries that revealed a woman as frail as she was fierce. "Lorraine," Helen begins, her voice a velvet blade, "legacy is a tapestry woven with threads of triumph and tragedy. Margaret was a pioneer, yes, but pioneers often tread over graves without looking down." The words land with precision, drawing nods from the intellectual corners of the crowd. But Lorraine, undaunted, presses on, her laughter a touch too bright. "Oh, come on, Helena, you're too kind. Back in Dundee, we called her the milk snatcher, remember? Poll tax queen. How did it feel slipping into those stilettos knowing half the country wanted to lob eggs at her?" The host's eyes dance with the thrill of provocation, her Scottish roots fueling a banter she mistakes for camaraderie. But to Helen, it's a barb, dredging up not just historical grievances but personal echo as of the industry's own snatchers who stole roles from women over 40, forcing her to fight tooth and nail for every comeback. The camera zooms in on Helen's face, capturing the subtle furrow of her brow, the way her lips purse like she's savoring the retort too sharp for daytime TV. Around the set, crew members freeze mid-task, Sensing the pivot from fluff to friction, a producer in the booth whispers into an earpiece, "Keep it rolling, this is gold." Helen exhales slowly, channeling the steely resolve she summoned for scenes of Thatcher facing down hecklers in Parliament. "Eggs, darling, I've dodged worse. Tabloid eggs, critic eggs, the kind that crack open to reveal raw sexism disguised as review." The audience gasps, then applauds, mistaking wit for whimsy. Lorraine, however, doubles down, her enthusiasm bordering on oblivious. "But seriously, Helen, your portrayal, it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but isn't it a tad glorifying? I mean, she crushed the unions, alienated the North, and let's not forget Section 28A, that dreadful clause silencing anything promoting homosexuality. As a straight ally myself, it chaps my hide." The word chaps elicits chuckles, but Helen's expression hardens, her eyes narrowing like storm clouds gathering over the channel. Section 28, a policy that haunted her activist friends in the 80s, fueling protests she quietly supported from the wings of her theater world. To hear it tossed so casually, as if it's just another tea-time topic, ignites something primal. "Lorraine," Helen replies, her tone dropping to that husky timbre that commanded armies in The Queen. "Glorifying? Number. Humanizing? Absolutely. Margaret Thatcher was a product of her time, flawed as a cracked teacup, but to reduce her to punchlines ignores the women she lifted and yes, the ones she let fall." The studio falls into a hush, broken only by the hum of lights and a distant cough from the back row. Viewers at home, from cozy kitchens in Manchester to high-rises in New York, lean closer to their screens, fingers hovering over share buttons. Social media stirs. Helen Mirren trending alongside Lorraine Blunder, with early posts hailing Helen's eloquence as queen behavior. Lorraine, sensing the chill but mistaking it for depth, barrels ahead with a follow-up that's the match to the powder keg. "Fair point, love, but coming off Thatcher's handbag diplomacy, it was iconic. But wasn't it just code for shut up and know your place? Especially for us working mums juggling it all while she preached family values from her ivory tower." The analogy stings, painting Thatcher and by extension, Helen's portrayal as elitist, out of touch. Helen's cheeks flush faintly, not from embarrassment but from the slow boil of indignation. She's no stranger to typecasting at 80, she's battled assumptions that her value diminishes with wrinkles, much like the women Thatcher-era policies marginalized. The audience shifts uncomfortably, whispers rippling like wind through wheat. A young producer off-camera bites her lip, recalling her own Nan's stories of 80s hardships. Helen uncrosses her legs, leaning forward, her presence expanding to fill the frame. "Ivory tower?" Margaret clawed her way out of a grocer's daughter hell. Lorraine, much like I clawed from council estate stages to these gilded cages we call studios. But to dismiss her struggles as code for repression, that's not dialogue, that's dismissal. The words slice clean, and for the first time, Lorraine's smile wavers, her retort caught in her throat like a crumb. The segment's energy has flipped from frothy promo to a raw unscripted duel, echoing the very political battles the film dissects. Outside, paparazzi cluster at the studio doors, tipped off by eagle-eyed interns. Helen's mind flashes to past interviews gone awry, the time a French host grilled her on ageism until she quipped back with Shakespearean fire, or the U.S. talk show where she defended her nude scenes with unyielding candor. This, though, feels personally a host weaponizing history to score points, oblivious to the guest's lived intersection with it. As applause fades, Lorraine attempts recovery with a pivot to fashion. "Speaking of claws, that outfit a pure Thatcher chic. But tell me, Helen, do you ever miss the wild 70s, when free love ruled and no one batted an eye at a woman's choices?" It's a clumsy bridge, meant to lighten, but it lands amid the rubble. Helen's laugh is short, sharp, a bark more than a melody. "Miss it? I lived it, darling. I fought for it, against it, through it. Choices? We still fight for those, don't we? Even on morning telly." The subtext crackles, a nod to ongoing battles over reproductive rights, pay equity, the very freedoms Thatcher both advanced and curtailed. The control room buzzes with urgent whispers. A cut to break. "No, ride it out." As ratings spike across digital dashboards, Helen glances at her watch, a subtle signal. her patience thinning like morning mist. The audience, now fully invested, hangs on every syllable, phones aloft capturing the raw exchange. This isn't entertainment. It's enactment, a microcosm of generational rifts, where one woman's icon is another's villain. Lorraine, regaining footing, launches into praise for Helen's activism, from UN ambassadorships to her vocal stance on climate change. "You're a force, Helena," like Thatcher, but with heart. But the qualifier but lingers, a velvet glove over an iron jab. Helen's eyes steal, the fuse shortens. In homes across the UK, tea cools untouched as families debate the screen. The storm brews, and the set trembles on its brink. Tension coils tighter than a corset on a Victorian stage. The studio's atmosphere now a pressure cooker of unspoken agendas and half-formed apologies. Lorraine Kelly, her cheeks flushed with the adrenaline of live TV's razor edge, sips from her water glass, a momentary stall tactic drilled into her from years of smoothing over guest gaffes. The water does little to quench the heat rising between them, as Helen Mirren sits statue still, her posture a testament to royal training from roles past, from Elizabeth II to Cleopatra. The audience, sensing blood in the water, leans forward en masse, their collective breath a silent roar. "Helen, I adore your fiery, it's what makes you you." Lorraine ventures, her voice pitching up in forced cheer, attempting to reel back the reins. But the damage festers. Helen's mind whirls with the ghosts of interviews past, where hosts pried into her private life with the subtlety of a sledgehammer, the tabloid frenzy over her 20-year romance with Taylor Hackford, the invasive questions on childlessness that she parried with "My career was my child, and it's a bastard sometimes." Now, here, on this pastel-hued set with its vases of wilting lilies symbolizing fragile peace, the intrusion feels insidious. "Fire? Oh, I've got embers that could raise forests." "Lorraine," Helen retorts, her smile not reaching her eyes, a masterclass in passive aggression honed on West End boards. The line draws scattered laughs, but the undercurrent chills the room. Outside, the October drizzle patters against reinforced windows, mirroring the gathering gloom inside. Producers in the gallery exchange frantic nods, one mouthing "This is blowing up," Twitter's on fire. Indeed. #Lorraine vs. Helen surges, with clips already circulating. Helen's poised rebuttals hailed as iconic clapback, Lorraine's probes labeled tone-deaf ambush. Helen shifts in her seat, the leather creaking like a warning shot, as Lorraine, undeterred by the frosty vibe, circles back to the film's controversies. "But let's talk brass tacks, Helena, some say casting you, a Brit through and through, as Thatcher romanticizes empire. Isn't that a bit colonial hangover?" The question drops like a guillotine, slicing through the promo pleasantries into accusations of cultural insensitivity. Helen's breath catches a sharp inhale that echoes her onset gasps during intense monologues. Colonial? She spent her career dismantling stereotypes, from portraying a Native American assassin in Red to advocating for diverse casting in her F honors speech. To be painted as perpetuating the very ills she fights galls her to the core. Colonial hangover? Darling, I've been hungover from more than that after a night with the RSC, she fires back, the quip eliciting genuine guffaws, but her follow-up cuts deeper. Casting is art, not autopsy. I honor Thatcher by exposing her cracks, not papering over them. If that's romanticizing, then every biopic from Lincoln to your precious Diana is a love letter to lies. The studio erupts, a half in shock, half in solidarity, as Lorraine's eyes widen, her prepared segues crumbling like shortbread. The host stammers, "Well, yeah, I didn't mean. You're brilliant, truly." But the apology rings hollow, laced with defensiveness that only fans the flames. Helen, feeling the weight of a nation's gaze, rises internally, her inner thespian scripting the exit she never planned. Flashbacks flicker, the 1970s, picketing for better wages with Equity Union Sisters. The 1990s, defending her nudity in Caligula against pearl clutchers. Now, at 80, defending her right to complexity in a soundbite world. The camera loves her in this moment, capturing the quiver of her chin. The spark in her gazelle lion is cornered but unchained. Audience members whisper furiously, one elderly gent nodding in approval. She's right to give the woman her due. A millennial in row 3 tweets live, Helen Mirren just schooled us all. #Queen Helen,